All right, what are we live? So we at it again with T-Rex, and this time we want to talk about sex and religion. Now we got into the conversation, but we gonna bring it back with your comment because I want to just focus on that title real quick: sex and religion. And tell me again, when you hear those two words together, what's the first thought that comes to your mind?
Sin.
Explain.
Okay, well, sin. I mean, sex and religion. I mean, unless you're married, you don't supposed to have sex, and that's what religion push. But from the Old Testament, sex was going on. If I'm not mistaken, you really didn't hear wife or anything like that in the beginning when Moses said wife or anything. Even when God gave the commandment, he said be fruitful and multiply. From my understanding in Genesis, he didn't say marry and be fruitful and multiply. It just said be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't specific. It was general. Like it was okay to have sex, be fruitful and multiply, mean have sex, have kids, and keep reproducing yourselves.
Mhm.
It didn't say be married and then be fruitful and multiply, from my understanding. And through the whole Testament, they proved that that's what it was: be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah, I mean that's what we see, and I mean I think that's accurate. I think some Bible supporters will probably argue against that and probably try to show how marriage was demonstrated. But I think really what they be showing is more so family commitment and procreation. The title marriage, husband and wife, I think came along later, and then that's like really a business construct, at least in today's society. But
Mm,
I'm gonna hop back on that word you said, sin, sex and marriage
mm,
seem to equal sin, and I think that's interesting. I feel like that's something we all know, but even though we don't have the conversation a lot, but when you go into church, there is a lot of taboo and mystery around sex, and it's really just because they say don't do it unless you're married. So
mm,
if you become a Christian later in life, you're not raised in that, or you decide that when you get older, hey, for whatever reason, I need to change my life. You go to church, you go from dating, vibing, getting intimate to don't touch until you marry. And that's a whole different ball game, because then you got a lot of hormones raging and you got a lot of people trying to suppress natural desires, and that don't always work out too well,
mm.
in my opinion. And I think that does damage, but I'm gonna yield and let you get your thoughts on it.
Well, I, I I can say marriage is a business because of the simple fact, because you can be married and still lust. You can be married and still
Whew.
watch porn. You can be married and still you can be married. You can
I,
just have sex and you still want to watch porn and masturbate.
what's the
But does
Bible?
that mean that you don't love your wife? No. It's like my man said off of Best Men Terrence Howard said, why would the creator give us all this sperm to be with one woman?
Well, let's talk, because that we that's branching out to another topic, right? You're talking about multiple partners, but let me bring it back a little bit to
Yeah, I'm in the topic of what we talking about. But what I'm saying is that why do you have to be married? The reason why I'm saying is because people think when you get married, that's going to kill everything what I just spoke on. No, it's a business. But when you get married, what they say, God, I mean, look in the Bible, God, David,
you
Solomon.
saying you saying a lot that all the act of getting married is not going to get rid of all of that, all of them desires and hormones that's raging in the body. All of that stuff is still going to be there. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
You said a word that I want you to speak to a little bit, because you said if you get married, you still going to lust. I
Yes.
want to talk a little bit about the restrictions that are built around sex in the Bible. according to the Bible, Jesus, what's the deal with lusting after a woman? Talk to me about that.
Lusting after a woman. I mean, to me, lusting after a woman don't mean it got to be the end topic. Got to be sex. It could just be like, God damn, she got an ass. Ooh, I wonder what that would be like. Oh, God
But
damn,
according to the Bible, though, how's the Bible look at that kind of
it's
behavior?
sin. You don't supposed to look at another woman. You don't supposed to lust after. You don't supposed to have sexual thoughts after a woman. You don't even supposed to say, God damn, that ass is big, and you see that the ass is big. Even your wife or your significant other, like, yeah, got a nice. Even what's so crazy about it, even women look and judge things just like us with the
Right.
same sex. But when a man do it, it's called lust.
You know what, though? Everything you're saying is on point. What I'm wondering about is mentally, what does that do to somebody? Because, you know, like I said, you a man or a woman, you out here, you dating, you have it. Even let's say you're doing it responsibly. You dating, you have sex. If it don't work out, you part ways in a healthy manner and you move on. You protected and all of that, but you're just not married. But then, hey, I need to change my life. You become a Christian. Now you got all these rules. Not only does it say abstain from sex until marriage, but then it says don't lust after a woman in your heart. So all of that stuff you just talked about, damn, that's a fat ass. That's it. Yeah. So it's like I feel like Christianity take you and lock you all the way down, all the way into your thoughts, to where now you feeling guilt. If you're really trying to be about that life, it's now guilt associated with your natural desires when you see something that look good walking by. What's the effect you think that has on people?
You want to know? I'm glad you say that. That's what make you sin. Damn. If you really think about it, that's really what make you sin. I mean, look, if a man like Bill Bucks, why women getting big butt implants? Why women, when they take a picture, they turn sideways? They want their ass showing when they shoulder. So I'm just keeping it real. If it was freedom of speech, what America say, and if a wife say, yes, you do got to ask, babe, you like that kind of ass? You want me to get some more ass? A man will not go after the other woman. He gonna desire his woman because that's the goal that she want, because she desired the same thing. But when it's almost like the biggest, what they used to say, the biggest freaks is in the church, is because they're suppressing their natural hormones, which makes them bigger freaks, because you're suppressing something that's natural. If we was more transparent, more outspoken, in a sense that is normal, it would not be a sin. It wouldn't be hypersexualized. But since we want to keep suppressing it, that's why it look bad. Just the same thing, like, it's not natural the way the Catholic Church say the priest and the Pope. Why you think they don't have sex period to where they go to the same sex? Because it is not natural. You're doing something unnatural. You're suppressing. When you suppress what the Creator put in you, either you're going to be hypersexualized, or you're gonna take what's natural to the unnatural, because you done suppressed it too long. It causes chemical imbalance in your mindset and everything. That's how I look at it.
I like that. And I think that's what we see in real time. That's real talk, because we see it in real time. And you said it, you know, that kind of suppression it sends you in one or two directions: hypersexualized or perversion. You didn't use the term perversion, but I feel unnatural, right?
I like perversion because that's what they talk about in the Bible, perversion.
Perversion, right? Because that is what the Bible calls it. And I agree, because the problem with the church is that it doesn't provide an outlet. It just says don't do it. It kind of smacks your hand, but it doesn't tell you what you should do with that energy as an outlet, because you need an outlet. And I think that you mentioned something that made me think about, you said if we're more transparent. Basically, I'm hearing you say, and I agree, if a man and woman could be more sexually transparent with what their desires and how they feel sexually as they move through the world, the relationship will flourish more, because then they could be more responsive to one another. The woman knows what he likes, she knows what and vice versa, and they can work toward that, whether she got to go to the gym or if y'all agree to implants and body modification, your business. But either way, you're stepping yourself up to bring more pleasure to your partner and have a better experience. But what's happening, well, I'm gonna land it here and let you jump in. What you see happening is a lot of people, and here's I'm gonna call this unnatural, that ends up in a perverted expression. You take that natural desire and you lock it down and you hide it and you make it secretive. So now it's got all this taboo around it, all this guilt around it, and all this condemnation around it. And so in order to, when you can't take it no more, you go to some dark, weird outlet to get that satisfaction. Mm-hmm. And all that guilt and all that weirdness and all them chemical imbalances you talking about come with that. Now you got some weird behavior. If you're not careful, that's what ends up happening. I think Catholic priests are the poster children for that. But
yeah,
what's your thoughts?
I remember my grandma, when me and my wife was having issues with our marital problems, she don't remember God putting his phone number in the phone. However, but I was shocked that my grandma had told me. She said, well, what's wrong with you and your wife agreeing to spice up your marriage? And this is my grandma talking to me. She was on some Will Smith said, as long as you and your significant other girlfriend have a mutual understanding and y'all agree upon that, it's not sin. It's like if you want another person to be in on y'all sexuality, like you and your wife and another woman, long it's agreed upon to spice up the marriage. Long as y'all agree upon where is the sin, where is it wrong? You know what I'm saying? So it's like long as y'all have that mutual respect, because, and I think that sex, according to religion now, sex according to religion is not real. There's no balance in it. And like I say, when it's unbalanced, you're gonna take it too far, or you're gonna take it to an unnatural place. And you see it all the time. I mean, how many times have you heard girls to save their virginity, they rather for a man to do anal, to save their virginity. They still need to have the pleasures of feeling something sexual. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's like if you touch a woman, or if a man touch a woman, she not married, you not married, and you're like, hey, sister, I love how you looked in that dress. That's doing too much. Like, man, that's right. If she's married, she not married, and you not married, and you say something, and I say, as far as you giving her the eye and the googly eye and everything, and say, sister such and such, Sister Jackson or whatever, you looking good in that dress today. Why is that sin? He's not doing nothing that he's not supposed to do.
Amen. And that's the thing,
and she not spoken upon, you not spoken upon, you playing your hand. And you know what I'm saying? So that's why so much hidden shit go on in church, because if you say something sexual to a woman that's a grown woman now, she got her own house and everything, she looking for a husband, unless y'all go to you know what I'm saying, you get the approval from the pastor or a deacon or something. Why can't you say something flirtatious to a woman? Sister, you was wearing that dress today. Why is that sin?
I think this is a perfect time for us to bring in this video, because now you're saying something that Dr. Umar went on his platform and they talked about the state of Black relationships. But there was a particular part where the gentleman asked Dr. Umar, does the church have a responsibility or impact on how Black families are coming together, whatever? And I want you to hear what he said. Let me put on my fair use banner there. And boom, we're going to bring in Dr. Umar. Check this out.
Absolutely.
Do they have a role and a hand in the outcome of where we are as far as our families are concerned?
Who?
The church.
I would say yes, and I'm going to tell you why. The black church caters to the black woman. And the reason the black church caters to the black woman is because the black woman is the provider. She has more income and education than the man. So they're looking at this financially. They also have a vested interest in her never getting married.
Whoa.
The pastor is the metaphorical husband of all the single women in the community. I'm not saying he's sleeping with them. I'm saying he's keeping them so distracted with Jesus that they never find a husband. And that's the way he wants it to stay. Because if she finds a husband, she won't have as much time to be donating to the church all the time.
Wow. All right. That's, he went there, but when you know, us just talking about, why is it a bad thing if a man is being a man in church towards a woman who is not spoken for? Why is that bad? And it made me think about that, what Dr. Umar just said. He, according to his thoughts, he said the pastors have a vested interest in those women remaining single. Because, he said because they're the providers. What I hear by they're the providers from being in churches, a lot of times they're the biggest givers. Sometimes with men making money, they still ain't with putting all that money in the church. But the women, they bring that money, and I know the pastors love that support. Do you believe there's some cot blocking going on, that the pastors want to see some of these women remain single, and they kind of use?
I have to stop because I got to get off my tongue.
Bring it on.
Before I lose my momentum. I mean, I'm a prime example of that. What I can testify to that by Dr. Umar Johnson, and you testify, but I ain't gonna say no names. Like, my bishop never called me. He always called my wife first. He never called me. So I can piggyback and justify what Dr. Umar said. He would never call me. He would always call my wife and say, hey, tell such and such to hit me up. And I was his right-hand man. I was his armor bearer. And you know this to be true. You know my lifestyle. You know how I got down when it came to that Christian. I was a servant. He never...
Right.
You dig what I'm saying? And I'll never forget it. When LL Cool J and that dude went at it, he said 99% of your fans wear high heels. I'll never forget that.
Cannabis, I remember that.
Cannabis, yeah. 90% of your fans wear high heels.
So you're saying that's the pastor?
As a pastor, so yeah. And look, let's keep it real. When you go to the front of the church, who all sitting up in the front is women with they got to put the cloth around their leg because the dress is too short. The men are off to the side, but who's sitting in front of the church, in front of the pastor? Baptist method is all the first ladies of the church wearing the hats, smelling good, looking good. All this, come on now. If people keep it real, so I mean, shit, that's some pimp shit.
Yeah, I never, before Dr. Umar, I heard him say that was never a thought in my idea, but what I did see is a lot of sisters in the church, young, looking good, in their, what you would call their prime. I'm talking about physical prime. All of us got a point where physically you looking your best. Your body is just at that point where whether you're a man or woman, you just looking good. It don't take much effort. You in shape, all of that. I see a lot of women like that. They want to be married. Me and we done been in church and seeing the sisters excited about, it won that ring. But then I see year after year, right? Because they're waiting on the Lord, that I feel like they're moving out of their sexual prime as far as like just being at their height, because men are visual and we looking at you visually. We're not looking at what's in your pocket. We looking at with visual creatures. And I can look back at the church we used to go to and see women still up there on that praise and worship team. You can tell, no disrespect, but you can tell they're not going to the gym. They just kind of, I feel like, going to the wayside, and they're waiting for God to somehow bring in a brother who gonna see this glowing light around them, who gonna say she the one. So when when I think about that experience, maybe Dr. Umar has a point with that, because those sisters are the ones that be serving, and some of the biggest givers were your women, and a lot of them are single. Now you got your married couples in there too, but it's them that's an interesting perspective.
Now the only thing that I may go against what Dr. Umar said is when he said the women are the biggest providers. Now, far as church, they the biggest givers and the biggest providers.
Yeah.
But outside of the church, the man is the biggest giver and the provider. And if a man is a man and 10 toes down, I'm gonna tell you like this. I can speak for me and some other brothers. If it wasn't for us, how can I say, exercising our masculinity to the point like, all right, bishop, pastor, whatever their title is, if you don't find me a wife and give me a wife, I'm gonna go find them. I even told my bishop that, like, hey, I'm seeing everybody in here getting married, and I don't know how long I'm gonna hold my sperm down and everything. If you don't find me, I'm gonna have to break away and find me a woman, because it say in the Bible, it's better to marry than to burn. I'd rather miss my mark finding the wrong wife than not having my sex and skeeting or something, because it say plant your seed. Casting your seed upon the ground is a sin. So you don't supposed to jack off and squirt it on the floor. You're supposed to put it into something.
Right. Now but what you saying, dang, what was it? You said it's better to marry than to burn. That's New Testament. That might be in the first or second.
Yeah.
Somewhere. It's so much pressure, man. I remember I've been married, the first time that scripture was ringing in my head. I'm young, lower 20s, hormones rage. I'm a leader in the church, minister. But man, I seen them women, and I'm exercising discipline. They looking at me too, but you're doing all of this spiritual stuff, trying to suppress your hormones. And I feel like at the same time, you are attaching feelings of guilt, condemnation, and all of that to those hormones, because again, to look at a woman in lust, according to the Bible, it's sinful. So then one of the ways that it's not balanced is you got a guy who go from 0 to 100. Instead of a dating process, getting to know the woman, he like, okay, she look good, she crying when she worshiping, she the one. Now you jump into something, you don't really know who you're dealing with, and then the reality come out, and then boom, it ain't working because it's imbalanced. There's no growth, there's no graduation. And in the church, in the Christian context, they don't give you an outlet for what to do with your hormones when they raging, except to wait on the Lord.
It's like I was watching Blade, the first Blade, when he had old Blade, he said the thirst will eventually win. The thirst always win. Dog, it ain't no way.
Thirst always win.
The thirst always win. It always, at the end of the day, the thirst will always win. And look how many pastors and people of high prestige slipped up, had sex outside the marriage, or had sex with the same marriage. The thirst always wins. If you stop suppressing what's natural and embrace it, what's natural and embrace it. Not saying being out of order and being reckless. Now, you got to do things decent in order. I do say that is true.
Speak to that. You said instead of suppress it, embrace it. So my question to you is, should it just be free and wild? Should there be some quote unquote regulation? What do you think that should look like?
It naturally is natural. It's a natural instinct. Okay, you have sex with this girl, have a child. You can have 2 or 3, and then you're not taking care of them. And then you go and have sex with another woman, and you not taking care of them. That's where it becomes unnatural. But long as you taking care of where you planting your seed, it's not unnatural. In the Bible, that's what a woman does. The man had the most wives or non-wives or Solomon, because he can take care of his offspring. If you can't take care of what you planting, then it becomes unnatural. Then it becomes reckless. But if you got money to take care of all these kids, even though you may not be with the same woman, she might be mad because you have all these kids. Long as you taking care of them kids, too many women not gonna give you no problem. At the end of the day, you're not gonna look like the back. They're not even gonna speak bad about you because that nigga taking care of the kids. He taking care of me. He making me happy. I don't give a damn who he fucking. Long as he giving me what I want at the end of the month, no problem. No problem.
You know what? I'm going to agree there because I think that for definitely Christians and probably a lot of people who ain't Christian, that definition is that definition is probably too loose for them, right? As long as you taking care of what you plant, you good. But if you think about it, that is the bottom line. Because
exactly
what I think about is that you don't need to lock down sex with all these restrictions that make it seem taboo and suppress your natural desires. But what you do need is a natural and responsible expression of sex, right? And that's a part of being responsible, taking care of your seed. Now, I do agree. I do think we need structure around that because if you want a family, then you need to have some structure around that so you can be with your person because you got to do life with your woman and your children. And then whatever you agree to in that union is up to you, as long as you're being responsible with taking care of the woman and the children that you involved with. So I would agree with that, man. I mean, I think that is the bottom line of it.
That's the nature of it. I mean, if you want to go to the Old Testament, it was nothing wrong with a man having more than one wife. It wasn't nothing wrong. If you think about all the guys in the Bible from the Old Testament, I ain't even gonna go to the New Testament. They was financially stable to take care of every child that they had.
Right.
And it was nothing wrong with, and it said be fruitful in life. If you think about it, in today's time, it's like you get married and you don't have more than one wife. All in the Old goddamn Testament, these niggas had more than fucking one wife. Some of them they didn't goddamn married.
Yeah, no doubt.
Let's keep it real now. Joseph, Joshua, all them niggas had more than one wife. Some of them they didn't even marry. They call them concubines. The only thing that made them legit is because they could provide and take care of everything that they was fucking doing.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, at the end of the day, the scripture, you know, you can bring if you want to use the scripture as your to endorse behavior, you can find, like you said, instances in the Old Testament. But I think our human nature supports this. You think about it,
right?
Because I think, you know, we live in a society that's supposedly monogamous, right? But we know on the low it's not.
Yeah.
But, when you look at the behavior of men and women, if that man can provide, I don't see women having a problem. I mean, if you look at Nick Cannon, I mean, that brother got multi-millions, and he I don't know how many kids he got with how many women. I mean, we can't keep count. You know, I mean, sometimes more than one in the same year. And of course, we don't know what's going on behind doors, but closed doors. But what we do know is whoever the new baby mom is, she definitely know about the rest of them.
Yep.
But you know why she good? Because he's able to take care of her and the kids, and he's taking responsibility for the seeds that he plants. So at the end of the day, I think
that's natural. You suppose
it's natural, and it's a difficult transition to make because society is going to fight you. So I'm not recommending it for everybody unless you want that for yourself, right? Because everybody's going to be in your business and have something to say. Yeah. However, I believe for any man who's trying to take it that route where he wants a family structure that includes more than one woman, the criteria is that you need to be able to take care of more than one woman, period. Not just the kids, but you got to be able to support a living space for everyone. And as long as you stick with that criteria, it's between you and your partners. That's y'all business. And to put it in scriptures, The Bible says marriage is honorable in all things, the bed and defiled. You know, I mean, it's up to you. When you in that union, it's up to you how you rolling with it. So,
but check it out. Is a woman gonna marry a man that don't have them qualifications?
no.
Okay, then.
Not on
So
purpose. You got some bum cats out there who's spreading their seed far and wide, but it's probably because he putting it down, not because he holding it down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But in general, I mean, women, yeah.
But see, now I'm glad that you said that. He's putting it down. So that's where, to me, it becomes unnatural. Like, you have to do things decent in order. Just because I'm putting it down don't mean that's what it means. I mean, no. You got to do, if you're talking about, now we got to take the perspective of religion. So if a guy putting it down, it's more about the flesh more than the spirit. And we can say Christianity, or we can go outside of Christianity. Because, I mean, see, so what you just said is like somebody just being fleshly. They just want to, no. You got to do things decent in order. We talk about religion, you want to do things decent in order. Just because a brother put it down, that don't mean nothing. That
don't mean he holding it down.
He not holding it down. Now that is not natural. That's not in order according to religion.
I would say that it ain't in order according to nature, right?
Exactly.
It is a lack of discipline when you got a man who's irresponsible, financially he not providing, but he laying pipe, and it's undisciplined on the woman's part to continue to let that man lay pipe and plant, knowing that he's not prepared to hold it down. But she keep that. So I like that distinction of flesh versus spirit, because that's not something you hear in church, but that's reality. Because when you do something according to the flesh, a lot of times it ends up in pain and suffering, right? Because
it's directly or indirectly, either you gonna cause it or people got to pay for you being reckless.
Right. You got a strained relationship between the man and woman, a strained relationship between the parents and kids, maybe an estranged father, lack of resources, struggle, poverty, because you operating out of your lower self, or as religion would say, the flesh. Whereas you can do the same thing from the higher self or spiritual vantage point. When the man levels up, he laying pipe and planting seed, but he taking care of everything and everybody. Whole different
perspective about it.
Without the religious restrictions and condemnation that come, because Christianity want to dig all in your thoughts and say, hey, don't even be thinking about that. I know what that looked like walking by, but don't think that's wild when you think about it.
That's not natural.
That is wild.
That's not natural. That is not natural. That's not realistic. You can't tell nobody, come on, man. The Creator created women the opposites attract. Is this laws of nature. It's just law. You going to be attracted by something. Come on, man. That's why church don't want to talk about it, or they call it taboo, because they don't want to be. It's nothing wrong looking at sister such and such. If she's not married and she wearing dresses and look like a nigga stuffed some hams behind her ass and that shit is poking out, and you know that sister, when she ain't wearing them dresses, them jeans is pushing that ass out, and you not married, I'll be bold enough, you have a right to lust after her because she's not spoken for. You have a right to look at that and fantasize or whatever, because that's not even your lower self. That is just natural hormones.
That's natural. I think I agree with that. I think what becomes lower or higher self, or in religious terms, fleshly or spiritual, depends on how you respond to that impulse. You dig what I'm saying? You think yams, but how do you respond to that? You sloppy and undisciplined with it, flesh. You know what I'm saying? You responsible with it, spirit. That's the difference. But the religious context, and I won't even put it on the pastors and the people. It's the book itself, the way it's written, and these words are in red. If a man even lust after a woman in his heart, it's sin. That's that's invasive as hell, right? You sitting there, you having an internal battle fighting against your own flesh, right? And I think what the church should be doing, if you should choose to go to church, is it should be teaching you about the responsible expression of your natural desires, not the suppression of it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep it. Like I say, man, you can have a girl in the church that's got all the ingredients, and she might have went to college and everything, but you don't have all the ingredients that she got, like matching tick for tack.
Mhm.
So by default, you should know, like, okay, I got to bring more to the table if I want this young lady. You may not have to go to college, nothing, but you got to equal the potential that she's bringing to the table. You got to. You ain't got to go to college. You got to have. It's like let's say you don't deserve that unless you qualify for that. You don't have to have the same credentials and everything to get that. You got to qualify. It's just like the animal kingdom. The alpha always get the woman in heat. It's a fight. You to earn that, you got to, hey nigga, you want her, and nigga, yeah. You see it in the animal kingdom and in real life, men do that. Men, we don't fight. I gotta have some money. I gotta have this. I gotta have that. I gotta have this. Men already know to get that girl, I gotta have money in my pocket. Nobody ain't gotta fucking tell them that. By the head down, the way she dressed, the way she look, I gotta have some money. She can have Gucci, whatever, and got a badass body. Either she's still with the nigga, or I gotta come with that same kind of potential to keep her. So if you know you ain't got it, you automatically know by default you cannot get her. By default, she done mess with niggas that got money. I ain't got that kind of money. I ain't no need. There ain't no reason for me to go talk to her unless I'm ready to get my feelings hurt. Let's keep it real.
Yeah, I mean, this. I think I mean that's true, man, and that's that's a whole nother, because I got other thoughts with that, and I'm not gonna. That's gonna take us in a different direction. But
yeah, I tapped into it. Yeah, because it's a lot that we can talk on.
It's a lot
but
on that.
Sticking with the religion part, and that's why I'm saying.
I mean, it's okay to step outside of the religious part, but I mean that now we talking about a whole world.
Yeah, I know. Where religion is, to me, I just feel like it's not right. That's why people having lust and promiscuous sex and committing adultery is because it's not the way it was presented to you wasn't right. A lot of people got married because they felt like, a lot of people got married because they was pressured. You've been in the church or they'll be like, well, sister such and such, she's a prime what they call it. She's a good catch, brother. She's been serving the church and they're talking and marrying something that don't even fit your criteria.
Yeah, like that. That's facts. Man, what I was thinking, that's big facts. They'll try to sell you something, essentially. But it's almost like arranged marriage in a lot of ways, right? Because it's like we've been in church, even with my ex, I was feeling her, I talked to the bishop. Hey, what's up? Like that relationship was like sons and daughters. You going to talk to a father about the daughter and all of this stuff. So it can be like an arranged marriage because you put your trust in one, the discernment of the church leader and quote unquote the Holy Ghost, because you believe in that we on the same frequency. We in this faith, we on the same frequency, we serving. Okay, yeah, we a match. So you overlooking a lot of things that you should be observing in a normal dating circumstance. The problem with that I've seen is that you end up on fast tracking and marrying somebody almost like an arranged marriage, but our society is not set up to support arranged marriage situations. Because let's say you go through your church and you get a wife and it's almost like an arranged marriage kind of situation. When the shit get real at the house, you ain't got the support of the communities that really live like that. You know,
Right.
you go somewhere off in the deep in India somewhere where they arranging marriages, their society is set up to support that. Families are talking, families know each other, families know the family history. That father knows this father, he's known him for years, he know how he raised that daughter, right? So that when they get together, they might not fully understand their chemistry and attraction and all of that, but when problems arise, they got the community support to navigate that. We ain't got that here.
Right.
So you best be getting to know and making sure you like who you choosing in this society over here, because that whole church thing, it ain't gonna work like that. And the divorce rate in church is just as high as it is outside the church. So they ain't doing nothing special.
It just goes by what we was talking about. You're marrying somebody that, for real, you really marrying somebody that don't even know them. You don't even know yourself. It's like you live in a fantasy world. It's like, it's almost watching when you step into the Christian world, it's like your whole life become a soap opera. It's like a soap opera. You fantasizing on a story that you done read, and you put in your life according to the story instead of the story matching who you are. And it always backfires. It always backfires. And now you got to hide or sneak and do things because now you're trying to save face in a faith that you start not to believe in. So now you got all this hidden agendas and doing things and all that. Now, man, that's why I'm so glad that I'm not under that precept, because it's not realistic. Like I say, it's unnatural. It's not balanced. That people say they love the truth, but they far from the truth. When you in that religion, you the furthest from the truth than anybody else. A sinner, a person that's living in a world closer to the truth than somebody that's been in the church all their life. A sinner is closer to the truth than you are. When you join religion or join the faith, you the furthest from the truth. You the furthest from the truth, and you the furthest from fucking reality. I say that.
I like that, and that's exactly what I was saying. And as we wrap it up, like, because the truth is reality, and a lot of times the quote unquote sinner that's out there in the world is in direct contact with reality. There's no middleman. You know, they are having a one-to-one experience with reality. No middleman, no filters. But when you go in church, you got a couple of middlemen between you and reality. You got a pastor
away from reality.
You got a Bible reinterpreting your experiences. You seeing and you making observations, but it's, oh no, well, this is that and that's this and this is the other. You know, so it puts layers between you and the truth, which is reality. And I think, like you said, that can be a buffer to you getting to know who you are.
Yep.
But trust me, when you get in that relationship, who you are is going to come to the surface. Good, bad, ugly, or otherwise, it's going to come to the surface, and hopefully you prepare to deal with it.
Religion make you prolong the inevitable.
Facts.
So now, just take me for experience or your life. If you wasn't in church and you marry whoever you marry, you'd have got to your destination like this ain't gonna work. But when you're in church, it prolongs the shit. It prolongs the shit way too long. Like when you not in church, oh, this shit ain't work. I got married. And hey, fuck her. Boom, 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 boom. But when you're in church, you praying, it prolongs the shit. And you end up way more money. Because when in church, it's not real. It's like I say, it's unfucking that. You suffer under religion. And if people watching this show, they'll understand where I'm coming from. You suffer under religion, because if you ain't under religion, it's click comes out, coop, it's over. I couldn't take it, boom, boom. But when you under religion, it prolongs your suffering. religion prolongs your suffering.
I think it does too, and sometimes religion prevents you from being honest about red flags.
Exactly, it stagnates.
Because after all, there is the blood of Jesus, and the church is a hospital, and after all, we all sick in here. So we all sick. So
Yeah.
when you see certain behaviors that should be a red flag, you should run. You're like, well, we all sick. We all, the spirit in which you approach it is lenient, not knowing you bringing in the devil that's about to disrupt your life, right? Because you thinking that Jesus is going to do, or maybe you got a naive view where you think that because you're committed and you're being changed because you're serious about your self-development through religion, you thinking they're on that same level of diligence, and they may not be. They might just be coming to church, right? You actually doing the work on self. And ain't no amount of the blood of Jesus gonna help somebody who ain't doing the work.
But it's funny that you say that when people go to church or whatever, but and everything, but if the church applies to that, what you just said, you know how like a black man or don't want to go to a doctor because they scared to go to a doctor because whatever. Why don't we have that same mindset when we go to church with a pastor?
What do you mean?
Meaning, like, we don't trust doctors. We should have the same mindset where we don't trust pastors, men of God. Meaning, like, we done got enough evidence for us not to trust doctors. Like, black men scared to go to church. I mean, doctors because they don't mess with us.
You
they
need to
don't
double check. Okay.
Yeah. So why don't we have that same mentality when we go to church, when we look at a pastor?
I mean, that's the nature of it. You know what I'm saying? You suppose,
yeah, it's the nature of it. Yeah.
You're supposed to trust your man of God, and all of that. But it's a lot of pitfalls, man. I mean, I think, even, in my own relationship experience and stuff like that, I mean, I definitely look back at red flags or overlook because we were in the context of faith. This is, this is Christianity, forgiveness. But all of this stuff, you think it's more of a factor than it actually is. At the end of the day, you need compatibility and you need work. You need that chemistry. You need to put that effort in for it to work. There's no divine assistance coming from that Bible, that's going to give you anything different than the folks out here outside the church is getting with their relationships.
The Creator gave you a penis. If you're a woman, he gave you a vagina. He gave you hormones. He gave you this. He gave you everything that you need. It's up to us to make sure we do things decent and in order.
With that.
And in order. And what the church is doing when it comes to the sex part, sex and religion, is not decent and in order. It's not natural, and it's making them do things unnatural because they, like you say, it's a taboo to speak about it and on it. And really, if they spoke more on it, I'd be bold enough to say a lot of this LGB and all these colors would not be going on, and people would embrace and talk about sexuality in churches. Kids or whatever would not think of doing things unnatural to the point where we are now. I truly believe that. It's unnatural not to talk about it. That's why you hear, like I said, that's what I meant to say. Like I told you, I saw a commercial at 3 a.m. If you've ever been sexual assault by a priest, it literally said it, sexually assault by a priest, you can sue. That just lets you know that what we talking about is real. And people who listening, check it out. They got sexual assault. It literally say if you ever been sexually assaulted by a priest. When you hear priest, that's Catholic. That's Roman. That's Vatican.
That's a whole nother topic. But we know that's a perversion part of suppressing what's natural. And they started giving them guys attention. But somebody, one of the viewers, Atlantis, 1111 made a comment, and I pinned it. Do you see it there? It says,
Okay.
being a pastor is just a hustle to many of them. They lack anointing or any spiritual gifts. Let's get your closing comments on that.
Being a pastor is just a hustle to many of them. They lack anointing or any spiritual gifts. Well, that's a broad statement. I mean, what they just said, I could get where they're coming from, but on topic of what we talking about is basically what we said. The spiritual gifts. I mean, they not tapping into the natural. Some people can be too what you call it, spiritualized, that they're not tapping into the natural.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of the time when you hear preachers talk, what they're saying, that they led by the spirit. They negate that it's another realm. And that's even unnatural. Nobody can walk on this earth always in the spiritual when you in this realm of the natural. If it was meant for you to stay in the spiritual, you would have never came to the natural.
Would have been born, yeah.
You would have never been born.
Yeah.
So even that, when we look at pastors or whatever, we looking at them spiritual beings walking this earth, and they never tap into the natural. And that's where we get messed up at. These people are human beings just like us. And if you that naive to think that somebody is always in the spirit, then by default, you asking and to be disappointed by the person who you got your faith in. I can speak that upon myself. So yeah, so it goes back to what we were saying. The statement that they put in, to me, it seemed like that can go any direction. But I'm trying to stick on topic of what we talking about, sex and religion. So
yeah, that was Trish. Yeah, I didn't realize that was Trish. She just said I pinned her comment. What's up, Trish? She's at like this 1111. I mean, I see that comment, and it makes me think that we see the hustle. We see the hustle in church. You talk about it a lot, and that's kind of what Dr. Umar was saying, right? That a lot of pastors have a vested interest in some of these ladies remaining single because they're some of his biggest supporters financially and through volunteer work, and we've seen that. So when they get yoked up with that husband, that's going to take time away because husband ain't trying to have you in the church all the time. You know, you got some husbands who may be serving in a church like that, but most of them, man, they going to work and they going home trying to relax. They want their wife home with them. So there is sort of a vested interest in the pastor. So there is a little bit of pimp, a little bit of hustle in that. But what I see with what I see with the lack of anointing the spiritual gifts, I see that as insight. Like you have some pastors who probably shouldn't be, because when you have people who I feel like are natural leaders, or they're kind of gifted in helping people, they understand how to help people navigate. But even with that, though, I think the restrictions when it comes to sex and the natural expression of sex, it don't come from the pastor. It comes from the Bible. That Bible is drawing those more moral boundaries to tell you that fornication is sin, that to lust after a woman in your heart is sin. It's locking you down and suppressing you like that. And then you, as a believer, have to choose how you want to respond to that. And like you said earlier, some people respond by, how'd you say it? They go in overdrive, they hypersexual, or some suppress, and they got that weird.
They're going to the unnatural.
You got your
one or two ways.
That's it. That's your Catholic priest end of the scale. So it's like you got your Sodom and Gomorrah end of the scale, right? And then you got your Catholic priest end of the scale. Either way, it's imbalance. And really what we need is balance. You just need the responsible expression.
And you got to understand that that's a natural feeling. And they don't speak on that, you know, they don't even have, you know how you got Bible study, they don't have adolescents like dealing with the youth, the people, because people that's older like us, we've been there, done that. So we don't need that. We like, man, you actually to the point where like how Bernie Mac say, F Coochie. I swear I watch, I swear I will. We done soil our royal oak. So like this conversation we have is to me, it's like for the younger crowd and
I
everything
agree.
that want to live right and everything. No, what you feeling is natural. It's not a sin to feel that. Because even when I was their age, I felt having them feelings going to church. I had to psychologically suppress that when and it was a war, but really that's a natural instinct.
Yeah.
It's
Now I agree with you because I remember after I got divorced the first time, and I was looking because I got married somewhat young, but I remember when I was going through that divorce and I got divorced, I called those my dark years because I was going out to the club and dating and my groove on, but I was still a believer, but I was just in a quote unquote backslidden state. So even though I wasn't trying to check myself like that, and it was always in the back of my head that I got to return to. I was like prodigal son state. So the guilt and all of that stuff was still attached to my groove thing. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't feeling like it was natural, and I feel like now when I look back on it, those years were more helpful to me than I understood because it was giving me that experience that I needed, even with seeing people outside the church. You know what I'm saying? Understanding that you didn't need to be in the church to have solid character, to be insightful, to be spiritually, mature and all of that stuff. It gave me it brought my perspective a little bit, but
man, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. Like I said, man, I think they need to target the younger crowd and show them it's nothing wrong with you feeling.
No doubt.
It's something you need to navigate through that and use it in everything. If you're talking about religion, it find you a nice young lady, woo, that you can be with and everything and do things decent and like what the Bible say, decent in order, or something call it protocol. But you don't supposed to suppress it because when you suppress it, you're gonna become that's my song. When you suppress it, you become reckless. Anything you suppress, you're gonna become reckless.
Hey, that's an excellent way to cap that up, man. And I'm so glad that I don't have to pass this on to my sons because I remember I had pressure with that. Like, I know as an adult I can make the decision to do this and that, but how are they gonna navigate that with all these little rules? I'm so glad I do not have that pressure, and I can be natural and teach them just be responsible with how you move. You know what I'm saying? This is, if you do certain things, you get certain outcomes. You need to know the outcome you want and take the path that's going to get you there at the end of the day. So
don't think because what you feeling is a sin or it's a devil attacking you.
No doubt. You ain't got to set up all of that.
That's bullshit.
Yeah. No doubt, man. We got to get back up here again. This was kind of an impromptu chopping it up on sex and religion. And again, those two words don't seem to fit together because when you put them together, you think of sin. Like you said earlier, you think of sin, and that's unfortunate and that tells you that the way sex is treated a lot of times in a religious environment or a church environment is very unnatural and unhealthy. And if you participate in that environment, you may not know, but you're picking up unnatural and unhealthy habits, right? So, and it's good not to subject the youth to that because then they'll have to grow up and shake that off. So we don't want to have to put limitations on growing kids and people that they didn't have to go undo later. We want to send them out there healthy and in the right space.
Yeah.
And so with that, until next time, I know we got another couple of topics that we want to chop up. I think today is Thursday, so we'll probably be able to slip one in tomorrow or Saturday if you're up to it, but we can talk about that offline.
For sure.
Another shout out to Trish. Thank you for joining. I know we won't be giving a heads up, but maybe I'll start giving a heads up before we do these lives. But appreciate you. Till next time, peace. We'll holla at you later.
Hey.